What's up, everybody? So today we're looking at 1.2 Measure and Classify Angles Part 2. Okay, first things first, go ahead and get this title at the top of your paper. While you're doing that, let me just kind of remind you, in 1.2 Part 1, a big part of it was us learning how to name angles. All right, and learning how to name them is a really important tool because we need to be able to read directions and I guess know what angles we're talking about. All right, and if we kind of just jump into this first example, again, go ahead and take a minute and copy this example, and then I'll get to what I'm about to say. Okay, try it out. Okay, so on this first example, it's saying find the measure. If you guys remember, this little m stands for the word measure. So find the measure of angle CBD if the measure of angle ABD equals 60 degrees. All right, measure of angle CBD. If you didn't, learn how to name these angles, it would be difficult to tell which one of these angles are they talking about when they say angle CBD. All right, but you guys remember when we name it, we start on the side length of the angle, we go around the vertex. That middle letter is always the vertex, just by the way, to the other side length. So if we're talking about angle CBD, we're starting at C, we're going around B, which is the vertex, to D. That's the angle we're looking for on this problem. Okay, and by the way, sometimes instead of highlighting it like this, I'll put a little arc through it just to show, okay, this is the one we're talking about. Okay, so they're saying find the measure of that angle if the measure of angle ABD is 60 degrees. Well, let's identify where that's at. Angle ABD starting at A, going around B to D. All right, the entire thing is what they're talking about. The whole angle here is 60 degrees. All right, and we're asked to find this one. Right, well, now that I've kind of written this out, it becomes a little easier to understand what's going on here. If this angle is 30 degrees and the whole thing is 60, what does this one need to be? Well, if this is 30, this would also have to be 30, right? Because 30 plus 30 would give us 60, the whole thing. All right, so we don't really need to write an equation out, though we will do it more in the future. But for now, I think that's a pretty straightforward one. We can say, okay, the measure of angle CBD equals 30 degrees. All right, let's take a look at letter B. On this one, it's just saying find the missing angle. All right, they're not naming the angles, and the only thing they're telling us is that this one right here is 70 degrees. And they want us to find this one, Okay, so that's what we're asked to find, the red one. How do we do that? This other problem told us the entire thing was 60. So we were able to kind of, make some sense out of it. On this one, they're not telling us what the entire thing is. All right, here's where one of the fundamental things I pointed out yesterday comes in. And again, this will show up all the time. It's the fact that this right here is a straight angle, okay, a straight line. If you guys remember, a straight angle equals 180 degrees. All right, and excuse me, that might be something you want to add just to these notes so you don't have to go searching around for it. But you can say straight angle, and that's my little symbol for angle. I'll use a lot of shorthand in this class, just by the way. Straight angle is 180 degrees. Okay, that didn't answer the question, but now that we know that this entire angle here is 180 degrees, we can probably just do this math in our head, right? If this is 70 degrees, what needs to be added to that to get 180 degrees? Well, hopefully in your head, you're thinking, oh, 110 degrees, right? And you would be right. Okay, so our missing angle, which has no name, so we're just going to kind of leave it like this, is 110 degrees. All right, and by the way, let's put a little box around this one. All right, so yeah, you're going to see today these problems are going to get progressively more complicated, but this is the fundamental idea on all of them. Okay, just the numbers get a little weirder. Okay, all right, so let's see here. Let's try another example. All right, take a minute, copy this down. We'll try it out. All right, so first thing, don't be intimidated by letters and algebra stuff showing up here. This is actually pretty easy math. So let's look at it. it says, given that the measure of angle LKN is 145 degrees, find X. Okay, first things first. The measure of LKN. What angle is angle LKN? Well, if you notice, starting at L, going around K to N, LKN is this entire angle. And they're telling us it's 145 degrees. All right. It's not a bad idea to write what I'm writing here. I think it makes it a little bit more clear. Okay, so here's what I know. I know that these two angles that make up the entire thing, if I were to add those together, they would equal 145 degrees, right? That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to write myself an equation, all right? And, do this along with me, of course. So let's try it out. Whoa, that went down way farther than I wanted. Okay, so here's our equation. I know that this angle on the left, 2x plus 10, okay, plus the angle on the right, which is a 4x minus 3. Those two angles added together equals the entire angle, which we were told is 145 degrees. All right, one thing to just point out, when I write out equations, I normally don't put in any units or measures as far as like, notice how I didn't put the little degree symbol next to 45. Stuff like that, I'll leave out when I write equations. Okay, cool. So we have a nice simple algebraic equation here, which is, maybe something you haven't seen since last year. So let me remind you of a few things. There's two sides to my equation. All right. On one side, I got 145. Nothing I can do over here. On the left side, I have some things. Okay. And by things, I mean I have some terms, and I'm looking to see if I can combine any of these terms. Okay. And the answer is yes. Okay. I have this 2x and this 4x. Those would be considered like terms. They both have the same variable to the same power. Technically, these are to the power 1, but they don't write it in. Okay. So those are considered like terms, and that means I can combine them. A 2x plus a 4x is a 6x. Okay, what else I have is just normal, I guess technically they're called constants. Okay, these numbers by themselves. I have a positive 10 and a negative 3 or a minus 3. Okay, so I can do that. I can combine those. 10 minus 3 is going to give me a positive 7. Okay, over on the right, I'm just going to bring it down, equals 145. Okay, now that I've combined my terms and I've kind of what they call simplified, now I can start solving. Okay, remember the point of when you're solving an equation is to get the variable by itself, excuse me, get the variable by itself on one side of the equal sign. Okay, and I need to get everything else to the other side. So here's what I noticed. There's my variable I'm trying to isolate. Okay, here's what I know. The other thing I know, I need to get rid of these two numbers. I need to get rid of this 6 and I need to get rid of this positive 7. Okay, question is which one should I do first? Okay, just remember when you are solving, you will always deal with addition or subtraction first. Okay, so this positive 7 is the first thing I need to get rid of. And you guys remember, to get rid of a number, we need to do the opposite operation. If this 7 is being added, I need to do the opposite. I need to subtract it, and I need to do that from both sides. Okay, so really breaking it down with these fundamentals here, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, on the left here, the 7s, they cancel. I like to cross them out. Okay, and it looks like we have a 6x over on the right. I have a 145 minus 7, and it looks like I'm getting 138. All right, last step is now I can finally get rid of this 6. Okay, remember this 6 is technically being multiplied by x. Okay, technically, there's a little invisible multiplication dot there. They just don't write it. Okay, so to get rid of it, I need to do the opposite operation. I need to divide both sides by 6. Okay, and again, I like to cross them out, show that, okay, I got x by itself. Over on the right, I would grab a calculator if I were you. By the way, if you haven't bought one yet, good idea to do that. If you need to, you can download an app on your phone, or you can just open up your web browser and write calculator, and a really simple calculator will pop up, though that's not going to help you on stuff in the future when we need a little bit more detailed calculator, like a scientific one. Okay, but don't worry about that for now. All right, so dividing my numbers, looks like we're getting 23. Okay, here's one thing you're going to hear me say all year long. is this my answer? Is this what they asked me to do, is to find x? Let's go up real quick. Okay, and yes, that was what they asked. They said find x. So that's how I know, sweet, I'm done. Okay, the reason why I say that is sometimes these problems, you're going to find x or you're going to solve for whatever variable, and they're going to ask you to plug it back in and actually find the measure of something. Okay. All right. So I'm going to have you guys try one. Actually, no, I got another example. We're going to try this together. So take a minute, copy this down. All right. So let's see. Given that angle KLM is a straight angle, find the measure of angle KLN. All right. So let's break it down. They're telling us that the angle KLM, starting at K, going through L to M, is a straight angle. All right. And really, they probably didn't need to tell us that in the directions. We can see that this thing is a straight angle, a flat line. Okay. So here's what we are starting to memorize. And like I said, this shows up all the time. We know that that means this entire angle here is 180 degrees. Okay. All right, here's what they want us to do. Find the measure of KLN. KLN. Starting at K, going around L to N. It looks like we're talking about this angle. All right, so this is the one we're looking for, the green one I'm highlighting. Right, so they actually want us to find the measure of this angle. Well, here's what I know. If I can figure out what X equals, I can plug it in to this, do a little bit of math, and actually get the measure of the angle. Okay, so let's solve for x. The way we're going to do it is just like the last problem. Here's what we know. We know that this angle here plus this angle here, when added together, equals the entire thing 180. Okay, so let's write out our equation. So I'm going to start with the one on the left. Normally I start on the left, just by the way, whenever I do this sort of thing. So I got a 10x minus 5, that angle, plus this angle, 4x plus 3. Those added together, I know equals the entire angle, which we figured out was 180 degrees. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to give you a minute. Go ahead and try to solve this problem for x on your own. Okay, and then I'll do it with you, and then we can see if you're feeling good on those skills. But yeah, try it out real quick. I'm just curious how comfortable you are with this. All right, so hopefully you're able to try that out. Let's see if we do the same thing. All right, first thing I notice, we've got some like terms. We've got some x's, we've got some numbers. Let's combine them. Okay, a 10x and a positive 4x combine to give me a 14x. A negative 5 plus 3 gives me a negative 2. Be careful on that stuff. If you didn't get a negative 2 there when you did this on your own, you might want to have the calculator next to you to do some of this simple math until you get a little bit more used to it. All right, so now I can start solving for x. Here's what I notice. I have a 14 and a minus 2 I need to get rid of. Which one do I get rid of first? Well, I always need to deal with what's being added or subtracted first. Okay, so this minus 2 is what I need to deal with, so I'm going to add 2 to both sides. All right, so those are gone. I've got a 14x on the left, on the right, looks like a 182. Finally, can get rid of the 14, it's being multiplied, so I'm going to divide. And let me grab my calculator because I don't want to do this in my head. 182 divided by 14, it looks like we are getting 13. Okay, so x equals 13. Okay, so here's the question I'll throw to you. Are we done? Did we get our answer? Did we do what they asked? Okay, scroll back up. On this problem, they said find the measure of angle KLN. So no, they did not just say find x. We need to now plug x back in and actually get the measure of this angle. All right, so that is, we decided KLN, that's this one in the green, though I wrote it in blue here, so that's a little confusing. Okay, but yeah, this is the one we're looking for. So what I would do is just off to the side, I'm gonna just rewrite this and I'm gonna plug in what we got for x, which again was 13. Okay, so I'm just gonna do it off to the side. So I got a 10x minus 5. Right, so doing some math, or actually plugging in my number first, plugging in 13 for x. Okay, so I got a 10 times 13. Again, no shame in using a calculator if you need to, but you can probably do that in your head. Getting a 130 minus 5, it looks like we're getting 125. Okay, and now that we actually found the measure, let's put that degree symbol back in, 125 degrees. Okay, and let's be a little bit more straightforward. Let's point out that the measure of angle KLN equals 125. Okay, and whenever you get an answer in this class, please put a box around it, put a circle around it, just to make it easy to find. Okay, so real quick, bonus question. If this is a 125 degree angle, can you find the measure of this angle with that information? Okay, can you potentially just do it in your head? Okay, try it out. Okay, this is 125. So if you were like to do this in your head, you might think, okay, well, I know they add up to 180. If this is 125, 125 plus what gives you 180? You might be able to do it in your head, or you could just take 180 and subtract 125, and you'd figure out, oh, the other angle is 55 degrees. They didn't ask for it, but if they did, we could find it really quick. And notice, I didn't even need to plug in X. I could have, and I still would have gotten 55, but I just used some common sense. Okay, so that's another helpful skill in this class. You'll see that a lot. All right, guys, so I'm gonna have you guys go ahead and try this one on your own, copy it down, give it a try. Before you do though, let me just, get everyone on the same page. Okay, here's what they're asking, find X. Okay, just find X. Okay, here's what we know. We have these two angles, and this entire angle is a right angle. Just so everyone's on the same page, remember, right angles are 90 degrees. Okay, so you can now go ahead and write out your equation. You know that this angle plus this angle is going to equal the entire angle, which we figured out was 90 degrees. Okay, go ahead and write out that equation, solve it, and then figure out what X is. Okay, go ahead. All right, so let's see how you guys did. Hopefully, you, at the very least, you were able to get your equation written out. So like I said, we know these two smaller angles added together equals the entire angle, right? So I'm going to start with this one, 2x plus 2. Okay, so I know that angle plus this other angle, x plus 1. When added together equals the entire angle we figured out was 90 degrees. Okay, if you didn't get this far, copy this with me. Try it out. This is like really important stuff here. Okay, and now it's just sort of what we've been doing. I noticed we got some like terms, a 2x and an x. Remember, that's technically a 1x. So a 2x and a 1x gives me a 3x. And then a 2 plus a 1 gives me a positive 3 equals 90. All right, now I can start solving, deal with addition or subtraction first. So I'm going to get rid of this plus 3 by subtracting 3. We have to do to both sides always because we have to keep equations equal. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other, right? So we got 3x equals 87. And then again, now this 3 is being multiplied by x. We'll get rid of it by dividing. And I'm going to grab my calculator because I'm lazy. And it looks like I'm getting 29. Okay, so x equals 29. All right, just another quick question. Did we do what they asked? Are we done? Okay, we found x. They said find x. Yep, we're done. We don't need to plug it back in. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so example, this next one, it says, given that ray, remember that's the symbol for ray BD bisects angle ABC, find X, and then the measure of ABD. Okay, so there's a few things going on here. First things first, they're telling us that ray BD, which real quick, let me just highlight it. That's this ray going from endpoint B through D. So they're telling me that this ray is bisecting angle ABC. Angle ABC, just by the way, is the entire angle, right? ABC. Okay, so they're saying this thing is bisecting this entire angle. Okay, if you guys remember, we saw this word a couple lessons ago. Bisect means to cut into two congruent halves. Two congruent halves, two equal halves. Okay, so what they're telling us here is that this line is cutting these into two equal angles, or in other words, this angle is equal to this angle. They're equal. Okay, they want us to not then find x. Okay, and then eventually we'll plug it back in, but let's worry about that part. Find x. Okay, to find x, just like before, we need to write out an equation. So the question is are we going to do the same type of equation we did on those last problems? Are we going to say this angle plus this angle equals the entire angle? Well, if we knew what the entire angle was, we could do that, but we don't know this entire angle. It's not a straight angle. They didn't tell us. But what we do know is that this angle equals this angle. Okay, and that is our equation. Okay, so let's write it out. 4x minus 2, that angle is equal to this angle. Okay, now we have an equation. Now we can start solving for x. All right, here's something a little different from the last ones. On the last one, our x values were all on the same side of the equal sign. Just to remind you real quick, like this one, our x's were already both on the left side of the equal sign, so we could just go ahead and combine them. On this one though, our x's are on opposite sides of the equal sign. We can't just combine them. Okay, we can only combine things that are on the same side of the equal sign. So what do? Well, we need to bring them to the same side. Okay, so I can either bring this 3x over to the left, or I have the option of bringing this 4x over to the right. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Here's my advice. Pick which one is going to give you numbers that you like. Okay, and numbers that I like are positive. I like dealing with positive numbers better. So I know that since this is a positive 3x, to bring it over, I need to do the opposite. I would have to subtract this whole 3x over to the left. Okay, I'm choosing to do that because I looked ahead and I noticed, 4x minus a 3x, that's going to give me a positive 1x. And again, I like positive numbers. Okay, so we're getting a positive 1x over here. All right, I'm going to bring down everything else, minus 2. These 3x's cancel, and I have an 18. Okay, one thing to remember, when there's a 1 in front of a variable, normally we won't write that, and we'll just write this as x, not 1x. All right, so let's do it like that. Okay, now we can solve. If you guys notice, we just have one thing we need to get rid of, a minus 2. So we will go ahead and add that. Here, let me change the color. So doing the opposite operation, we'll add 2 to both sides, and it looks like x equals 20. Okay, did we do what they asked? Partially, right? They said find x. We did that. But it said, and then the measure of angle ABD. Okay, so this is one of our answers. They actually want us to do both things. Now let's find the measure of angle ABD. Let's figure out where that's at. ABD, if you guys notice, starting at A, going around B to D, that is this angle right here. That's the one we want to find. Okay, and now that we know what x is, we can plug it back in. All right, so let's go ahead and write this out. So I'm going to just say, all right, 4x minus 2. I'm going to go ahead and plug in 20 for x. 4 times 20 minus 2. And let's see, 4 times 20 is an 80. Minus 2, 80 minus 2, 78. Okay, so there is the measure of angle ABD. And by the way, let's add that to the end here. Measure of angle ABD equals 78, technically degrees. Okay, quick bonus question. If the measure of this angle is 78 degrees, what is the measure of this angle? Take a guess real quick. Okay, hopefully you remembered, these are congruent. If this is a 78-degree angle, so is this. And we're done. Okay, and if this problem were to ask us for the measure of the entire angle ABC, we could just add 78 and 78 and we would get the measure of this entire angle. Okay, so keep that kind of stuff in mind, okay? Okay, I think we're gonna end with this last one here. I'm gonna have you guys try this one on your own. Same idea here. They're telling us that BD is bisecting this angle, all right? They want you to find x and then plug it back into angle ABC. So first things first, focus on finding x. Okay, remember, if this is bisecting, we know that this angle and this angle are equal to one another. All right, there's my little hint. So go ahead and make your equation, solve for x, and then plug it back in. All right, so let's see how you guys did on this one. So making my equation here, I start on the left here. So I'm going to say 2x plus 20, this angle, okay, is equal to the other angle, 4x. All right, just a reminder, they're equal because this line is bisecting this whole angle. It's cutting it into two equal halves, two congruent halves. All right, so here's what I noticed. We have x's on both sides. All right, on the last problem, I brought my x's to the left. On this one, I'm going to bring this 2x to the right because I know it's going to give me a positive number. And again, I like positive numbers. If you brought it to the left, that's okay. We should still get the same answer, okay, as long as you did your math right. Okay, so I'm going to take 2x, it's positive, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract it. Okay, got a 20 over on the right. Looks like I got a 2x. All right, just something to notice. The x is now on the right-hand side. That's no big deal. We can still solve this. We're still worried about getting x by itself. It's being multiplied by a 2, so we're going to divide by a 2. All right, so dividing by a 2, both sides. 20 divided by 2 is 10. On the right, I get x, and I get 10 equals x. Now I'm going to flip it around because I like to read it left to right. So I'm going to say x equals 10. Okay. There is one of my answers. Okay, we'd be done if they just said find x, right? But we also want to find the measure of angle ABC. All right, first let's figure out which angle is angle ABC. Well, if you notice, ABC is the entire thing. All right, but here's what I notice. This angle on the right is really simple. I just need to plug in my 10 for here. 4 times 10, this thing's 40, right? We can do that in our head. Okay, well, if this is 40 and we know these are congruent, this is 40, right? And if both angles are 40, what's the measure of the entire angle? Well, you guys know 40 plus 40, 80 degrees. Okay, so I was able to do a lot of that in my head. And by the way, that sort of thing, if you do that in your head, I'm okay with that. I don't need to see every single thing. I want you guys to be able to kind of do these. They're not shortcuts, but I want you to be able to use your head to do some of this easy stuff. All right, but let's be a little bit more clear. Let's say the measure of angle ABC equals 80 degrees. All right, everybody. So that is that for today. This is us getting into some like real math. From before this, it was a lot of terms and getting to know different definitions. This is some real life math here, but it's a really good review. It's algebra. I'm sure you've seen before. Hopefully, you feel a little bit more comfortable with it. Yeah, I will see you guys back in class. Bye.